Hi everyone, this is Dr. John Demartini. You know, it was William James, the father of modern psychology, who said that the greatest discovery of his generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their perceptions and attitudes of mind. That is so true. And I've seen it week after week as I teach the breakthrough experience and other programs as I travel the world. It is not what happens to you, it's your perception of it, what you decide to do with it, and it's the actions you take as a result of it. Every challenge in your life actually has a hidden opportunity if you take the time to change your perception. And it's easy. You can be masters of our destiny if we change our perception. We can be victims of our history if we don't. Because sometimes we have this event, we want to blame, we want to be a victim instead of actually being empowered and take it and use it to our advantage. So I'm amazed at how many people let things on the outside dictate their destiny instead of changing it and transforming it and using the vision on the inside to direct their life. So if you have a situation that you think is absolutely devastating to you, challenging to you, or negative or painful or something like that, it's only seeing half the equation. Like a magnet, there's always two poles to the magnet in every event. If you see one side without the other, you don't have a complete awareness. I had a gentleman that came to my breakthrough experience in Australia one time, and he said to me, he says, I hate my father, I despise my father, he's just a da-da-da-da-da. He went really nailed him. And I said, what exactly happened? He said, well, he and I had a major fight when I was 16 years old. He kicked me out of the house and said, never come back. So he went out and lived on his own, became an entrepreneur, became very successful, very wealthy, had a beautiful wife, cool family, went out and did amazing things, but was staying bitter and resentful to his father because his father kicked him out of the house. And so in the breakthrough experience, I had fun with him. I said, so you're making an assumption that life would have somehow been better if your father had been really nice to you and kind to you and sweet to you and affectionate to you like you fantasized. And he said, well, life would have been better. And I said, what is the drawback if all of a sudden he was the way you hoped he would have been? And he would have been nurturing to you and caring about you. And he says, and he went on, he says, that would have been how I would have been happy. I would have been fulfilled. I said, well, what's the benefit of what happened to you? He goes, well, I can't see any benefits. What's the drawback if it had been the way you hoped? I can't see any drawbacks. He was black and white. He didn't have any resilience. He saw one side of the magnet, not the other. I said to finally, I guess intuition brought it to my, I said, did you have any brothers or sisters? He said, you had a brother. I said, did your father treat him the same way as you? He said, no. He gave him attention. He was nurturing to him. He gave him everything. He was supportive of him and everything else. I said, just out of curiosity, would you trade places with your brother today? He goes, God, no. My brother has basically never had a career, never had a job. He's been mooching off the family. He's just waiting for my parents to die. He wants to inherit the thing, and he's just living in a small life, living nowhere. I said, did you thank your dad for believing in you enough to kick you out of the house and say, you can handle it, because he didn't believe your brother could make it, or he probably kicked him out. He goes, I never thought about that till you just did that. And when you said that, I realized that. I said, your father obviously believed you're capable of handling yourself, and your perception is what got you boxed in. You're resentful to your father because you never took the time to actually stop and look at how it served you and how the fantasy you had was a disservice or would have been a disservice. And the guy literally broke down in tears and he goes, I never saw it. I realized that my dad did me a favor and actually my brother's trapped because of that thing that I thought my father should have done. I said, see, you took the time to transform your perception, and right now your heart has just opened up to your father after all these years. From 16 to 48 years old now, you've been sitting there bitter in your father and been blaming him and everything else, but right now, you're actually grateful to your father. And just know that any person on the outside that you can't say thank you for represents a part of you you're judging inside. So he liberated himself from his anger to his father, which opened the door of communication, and liberated himself from his own judgment of ever being like his father, swearing he would never be like his father. Of course, in his own life, he's drawn in situations where he acted just like his father, where he kicked somebody out, he fired people, he did things. So it's not what happens to you, it's your perception of it. And you have command over your perceptions and your actions and your decisions. So when you have a situation that you think is in the way, you want to ask, how is it on the way? And if you do, all of a sudden you'll take things that are burdening and baggage in your life and you'll turn it into fuel and opportunity in your life. So I'm so amazed at how many people sit there and hold on to the stuff instead of turn and transform it. See, it's not what happens to you, it's your perceptions of it, as I said. And you can be a victim of your history or a master of your destiny. It's your choice. Every weekend in the breakthrough experience, I have people that come in with all kinds of burdens that they think they're carrying. And every weekend we transform them. That's what the program is designed to do, to break through these types of limitations that are holding people back. Because there's hundreds of these in some people's minds, just hundreds of them that have accumulated through their life, and it's making them play small instead of giving themselves, liberating themselves to be free to go out and do something amazing and seeing that it's all on the way. The master sees things on the way. The illusions of the masses are always accumulating things that are in the way. So if you want to master your life, make sure you transform your perceptions and your reality by a change of the way you look at it. And if you want to learn how to master that, join me sometime in the Breakthrough Experience.